Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. When a pirate group mobilizes to steal the most powerful jewel in existence, a young warrior takes on the mission to protect his world and all the food that lives on it. Today we will recap the story of the 2018 movie, Kung Fu. Millions of years ago, at the beginning of time, the great Nuo lit the first fire in the celestial kitchen and created all the food that exists on the planet, using the power of the legendary 5-flavor stone. Such a jewel gave all foods a unique flavor through the mixture of sour, sweet, bitter, spicy and salty. For 1,000 years, all foods lived in peace and harmony until the terrible Kung Pao chicken fell from the sky and stole the 5-flavor stone. So, in order to save his world, Master Lu Chen decided to confront that powerful enemy. The battle lasted several days, but finally Lu Chen was victorious and turned the demented chicken into a delicious soup pond. Since then, many generations have passed, but the 5-flavor stone is still missing. Currently, there are a few foodies who are after this powerful artifact. However, according to legend, when the stone is found, a new hero will emerge to save the world once again. In the hope of becoming this predestined hero, Bao trains every day, but despite all his efforts, the young dumpling is a source of great disappointment to his grandfather. So he decides to make an excuse to get rid of the Chinese bun and claims that his training is complete. Although he is excited to embark on a new adventure as a warrior, Bao does not feel ready and tries to convince his grandfather to continue his training. However, the old man hands him the Staff of Destiny, which belonged to Master Lu Chen and was used to save that world. After 5 years of training, Bao begins his journey as a warrior while his master celebrates the fact that he is finally rid of him. After a few days of walking, the bun finds a seaport and decides to enlist to be the new member of a warship. However, in order to pass, the young bun must duel against a samurai warrior and ends up being defeated with a single blow. Bao then misses his chance to join the ship, but tries to convince the assessor to give him another chance. Just then, Princess Choi appears and orders the boy to go home, because he can never be a hero. Disappointed, Bao accepts his defeat as he watches the real warriors join the ship. Suddenly, Tui appears and offers him the opportunity to join his crew. Immediately, the young bun accepts the invitation and, upon boarding the ship, soon meets Captain Kui and the rest of the crew. After getting to know every part of the ship, Bao goes to assume his role, and while his colleagues work, the boy watches the warriors on the ship, hoping one day to become like them. One night, while observing the fleet, Bao notices that some ships are going in different directions and soon suspects that something is wrong. The creature uses a bezel to spy on the neighboring vessel and discovers that salmon is throwing a substance into the ocean to leave some kind of trail. Suddenly, a strong storm hits and the fleet ends up breaking up due to the turbulence in the ocean. Just then, a pirate ship approaches and begins to attack the ships. Salmon then reveals his true identity and joins his enemies during the battle. When Captain Kui and his crew find one of the warships, they realize that the vessel is completely destroyed and make arrangements to rescue the survivors. However, what they did not imagine is that they would also become targets of the pirates and end up being captured by them. The group is led by Lord Octopus, who steals the map that was in the princess's possession, which shows the way to the island where the Stone of 5 Flavors is hidden. Since he is the only member of the crew who has not been captured, Bao decides to attack the octopus while it is distracted. However, the creature manages to knock him out with one of its tentacles and orders the samurai salmon to eliminate the intruder. With the Staff of Destiny in hand, Bao feels confident to fight his opponent, but the ship begins to crumble and they both fall into the sea along with the wreckage of the vessel. Contrary to what the pirates believed, the samurai managed to survive the accident and drags Bao to a floating piece of wood. After taking his staff, Salmon begins to build a mast, so that he can sail to dry land. Minutes later, Bao wakes up and discovers that he has become a prisoner of the samurai. Now, his only option is to help him row, and after a few hours, the pair is sucked into a waterfall. Salmon is convinced that he needs to get into that cave and attaches the other side of the shackle to his arm so that the bun cannot escape. It doesn't take long before they realize they have ended up on an island and spot the pirate ship in the ocean a few miles away. While the samurai thinks of a way to reach the ship, Bao takes the opportunity to steal the key to the handcuffs and try to free himself. However, before he could get loose, Salmon attacks him and the key ends up falling off a cliff. The two enemies then decide to jump on a branch to get it, but after slipping, they end up in the middle of the forest. During the dispute over the object, they get stuck on a suspension bridge in the treetops and soon discover that they are not alone. Meanwhile, on the pirate ship, Choi and his allies are trapped in a cell and Captain Kui asks what the 5-flavor stone is. The princess then explains that the magical artifact was created to give flavor to food and every 1,000 years a vortex opens to the island where the stone is hidden. Now that he has the map, Lord Octopus knows how to get to the island and must be stopped before he obtains the power of the 5 flavor stone. In the forest, a small monkey appears among the trees and steals the key that would open the handcuffs. Bao tries to stop the animal from devouring the object and accidentally causes it to fall off the branch. Suddenly, dozens of other monkeys appear and attack the pair. The opponents then need to join forces to defeat them and end up slipping off the bridge. After suffering a serious accident, they are thrown out of the forest and finally manage to set foot on solid ground again. However, they are eventually followed by one of the monkeys, who decides to accompany them and hitches a ride on top of Bao's head. The young Bun is very uncomfortable with the animal's presence, but he can't get rid of it, so he gets used to the creature. When evening comes, the Bun is completely exhausted and Salmon decides to stop and rest. Before going to sleep, Bao builds a steam room and takes the opportunity to relax while the samurai does his meditation. Bao finds some garlic cloves in the forest and realizes that luck is on his side, for this is his favorite food. He gives a piece of food to the little monkey, who hates the taste and runs into the forest. Meanwhile, Salmon uses his wasabi to polish the blade of his sword. Bao feels happy that he managed to get rid of the monkey, but the creature soon returns with a bunch of grapes in his hands. When it tries that fruit, the Bun gets angry, because it can't stand the sour taste of any food. In the morning, the samurai wake up and realize that the forest around them is on fire, because Bao forgot to put out the fire the night before. During the escape, Salmon realizes that there is something wrong with his vision and soon realizes that if he doesn't get away from that fire, he will soon be cooked. At this time, the entire surrounding forest begins to change, as the food ends up expanding or being melted due to the heat. Suddenly, the kernels of corn that were scattered on the ground begin to burst and the trio is thrown away along with the popcorn that is formed. They are then thrown into a pile of onions and roll through the forest inside those rings until they reach a bridge made of cheese. Now that they are safe, Salmon realizes that he has lost his sense of smell and his sight. While looking for his wasabi, Bao decides to help him, but ends up dropping the food in the ocean and replaces it with a piece of garlic. Since his enemy is defenseless, the Bun decides to turn the tables and claims that he is now his prisoner. His plan is to exchange him for his crew when he makes it to the ship. Bao then guides Salmon through the forest and prevents him from falling off cliffs. In return, the samurai teaches the young warrior a few moves. During the night, they continue on their way and Bao is startled by the piercing gaze of his enemy, so he decides to blindfold his eyes, since he is no longer able to see. While walking through the bushes, the trio is chased by thousands of insects and must quickly escape. However, when they manage to get rid of the stings, they begin to be hunted by a giant spider and must hide until the next morning. After spending a few days locked up in that cell, Choi and his friends hatch an escape plan. Twin is responsible for getting the guard's attention and luring him closer to the bars. The princess then attacks him and steals the key. In this way, the group manages to escape and Kui takes some explosive coals to be used as a weapon against the enemies. Choi climbs one of the masts and shoots several arrows at Lord Octopus. However, Yamazaki realizes the attack in time and manages to block it. Soon after, he goes after the princess in hopes of defeating her, but Choi manages to shake off his blows and takes advantage of the moment when the ship collides on several rocks to escape from the samurai. The warrior uses her great skill in battle to take the octopus hostage, but ends up giving herself up when she realizes that all her friends have been captured. However, 2 prisoners are still missing. Rolly and Dodo are preparing a potion with all the peppers available in the kitchen in order to cause a big explosion. Their plan is successful and the duo manages to blow up part of the ship, but in the end they are captured along with the rest of the team. Upon hearing the noise of the explosion, Bao can detect the pirate ship's location and runs towards it. After a few minutes of walking, the trio reaches the lake made of chicken soup and realizes that they are close to the 5 Flavors Rock. According to legend, that lake can cure any disease, so after drinking some of that soup, Salmon is able to recover his sense of smell and sight. Now that his senses have been restored, the samurai takes the opportunity to contemplate the surrounding nature for a few minutes, and quickly uses his sword to carve a canoe. Bao is impressed by his opponent's skill and they both use the boat to cross the lake. Just as they are about to reach the other side, a giant frog appears and throws the trio onto the gooey surface made of tofu. The creature then attacks them with its disgusting tongue, but the trio manages to dodge its attacks and Salmon tries to catch the animal with his chains. However, both he and Bao end up being thrown into a mountain of tofu and the Bun manages to break free from his shackles. At that moment, the frog walks towards the samurai, who is defenseless, as he cannot reach his sword. Bao is about to leave when he decides to return to help his opponent, for he knows that to become a hero he must be willing to save everyone. By now, Salmon is coming to terms with the fact that this will be the end for him, but he manages to escape the attack unharmed and Bao helps him to recover his sword. The two warriors then team up to defeat the beast, and the young bread uses his staff of destiny to strike the creature. After the attack, the monster acknowledges his defeat and returns to the lake. The samurai then asks why Bao has come back to help him, and the dumpling says that he considers him his friend. After surviving a brutal attack, the pair continue on their way through the forest, but the samurai decides to strike Bao so that he faints, for he knows that if the young bun reaches the pirate ship, he will become a prisoner. It is only 10 minutes until the vortex opens, and Lord Octopus is still on the island so that his crew can repair the damage that has been done to the ship. Suddenly, Salmon appears and claims that his prisoner has escaped into the forest. When he wakes up, Bao realizes that he is tied to a tree upside down and becomes furious with the samurai, even though he knows that he did this in order to spare him. Minutes later, the bun manages to escape and reaches the ship, leaving Salmon impressed. He wonders how Bao was able to break free, and the octopus orders him to finish off his best friend. However, the samurai takes it easy on him and tries to convince the dumpling to run away, but Bao refuses to do so. So, to end the battle once and for all, Lord Octopus orders Yamazaki to enter the fight. After taking down the creature, the warrior tries to attack it with his claws, but is stopped by his brother, who tries hard to convince him not to do so. After all, Bao saved his life a few hours ago. However, Salmon's appeal has no effect on Yamazaki, who, after throwing his brother away, cuts the staff of destiny in half and pushes Bao against a wall of rocks, leaving him buried. While trapped amidst the volcanic ash, the young bun has a vision, in which he is accused by his grandfather of being a great failure. The bun feels guilty for not being able to save his friends and is hanging on a cliff when he receives a visit from Master Lu Chen. The spirit of the legendary warrior tries to calm him down and states that Bao is a great hero, he just needs to find his strength within himself. Upon hearing these encouraging words, the young bun decides to continue pursuing his goal, but after getting rid of the stones that were crushing his body, he faints again. Meanwhile, Lord Octopus continues sailing across the ocean, but cannot find the island on the map, because, according to him, the information is not accurately drawn. Later, when Bao wakes up, he realizes that he has been saved by the monkey and his friends. The creature is extremely happy to see that the marshmallow primates have fixed the staff of destiny and soon begins to think of a way to reach the pirates. After a few failed attempts to find the island, the octopus tries to force 4C to reveal its location, since he was the official guardian of the map. The protector then refuses to give this information, but in the end, Lord Octopus doesn't even need his help, as his allies alert him to a bright light that has begun to emit from the map. Immediately, the octopus takes the piece of paper and points the drawing at a rock. When the emitted light meets the seal, a large wave dissipates, and then the rocks begin to move, making their way to a hidden island. After entering the secret passage, it doesn't take long before the group spots the legendary Temple of the Five Flavors, where the stone is hidden. Upon entering the palace, the octopus is struck by its immense beauty and soon comes across the jewel he is looking for. When he touches it, the stone splits into 5 pieces, and his crew, who are on the ship, soon realize that something great is about to happen. They are already celebrating their captain's victory when they spot Bao and the monkeys approaching. The young bun teams up with his new friends to form a bridge so that everyone can reach the ship safely. Now that Yamazaki and Lord Octopus are away from the ship, Bao manages to free his friends and they fight together against the pirate crew that plans to imprison them. Seeing his old friend tied up on the deck, the bun decides to use his sword to free him and, after making sure the samurai is okay, joins his friends in the mission to stop the octopus from taking the power of the legendary stone. By this time, Lord Octopus is in possession of the artifact and eliminates the sour taste of that world. Then do the same with the other flavors until only the salty is left, which is now under his control. The monster then uses a salt storm to ward off his enemies and turn his allies into real zombies. While trying not to be blown away by the gale, Bao makes the decision to enter the castle to stop his enemy, but, although he is using a shield, he ends up being repelled by one of the zombie pirates. The young bun is about to be attacked once again when Salmon appears to save him and, after knocking out the enemy soldiers, helps Bao storm the castle. In this instant, they discover that the octopus has acquired a third eye, which it is using to control its soldiers. While Yamazaki and his brother engage in a sword duel, Bao goes after Lord Octopus and is captured by his tentacles. After breaking free, the two friends end up being cornered and, during a joint attack, experience the sour taste of defeat once again. Salmon then decides to sharpen his sword before continuing the battle and takes his wasabi to polish the blade. Only then does he discover that the wasabi has been replaced by a piece of garlic and decides to use it to prepare his sword for the final fight. Meanwhile, Bao continues his battle against Lord Octopus and is surprised when his staff of destiny transforms into nunchakus, which attack his enemy from behind. After slicing several foods with his blade, Salmon finally manages to defeat his brother at the same time as Bao finishes the battle against the octopus captain. However, Lord Octopus still possesses the power of the 5-flavor stone and uses his magic to create a giant monument made of salt. Outside the temple, Princess Choi and her allies are surrounded by zombies and have nowhere to run. Their only hope is that Lord Octopus is defeated. While being trapped by columns of salt together with his friend, Bao notices a glow coming out of the giant octopus mouth and suspects that this is where the stone is hidden. Therefore, Salmon uses a chain to get them both thrown there, but his plan is interrupted and the samurai decides to use a strategy to save only his friend, even though this may cost him his life. After entering the creature's mouth, Bao manages to steal the stone and takes control of the 5 flavors, causing the rain of salt to be broken. All those who have been turned into zombies by Lord Octopus regain consciousness, and Princess Choi runs to find her friend. Now that the octopus has been destroyed, Bao begins to search for Salmon, hoping that the samurai is still alive. As he rummages through the salt mountains, the stone of 5 flavors returns to its original place and Choi realizes that the temple is crumbling. The only chance the group has to survive is to return to the ship and leave the island before it is sunk, but Bao refuses to abandon his friend and must be dragged off. Before leaving, the group helps the pirates return to the ship, but now they no longer have a captain, as Lord Octopus has been destroyed. Bao asks the princess for forgiveness for not being able to get the stone before she left, but Choi says that the artifact should remain on the island, away from all those who might use its power to do evil. The princess assures him that someday Bao will meet his friend again, and the young Bun decides to keep hoping that Salmon is still alive and will appear again soon. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.